Hey everybody, I've got 10 new D5 render tips and tricks for you. If you find any of these super useful, let me know in the comments. And if you have a super useful tip, drop it in the comments so I can make a video about it in the future. So let's get started. So the first super useful trick that I've got here is if you're ever in the material editor and you need the color to match a very specific shade or Pantone chip. So for example, I've got this green, right? I need it to match wind chime. You can actually go straight into the material, click the base color, and this little button here lets you select a color off of anything on your screen. So it doesn't even need to be within D5. I can actually, let me just bring that up. So right now you see my whole desktop and see how it's picking up things outside of my own D5 file. So super useful. So you can click anything on D5 or click outside of it. So I'm gonna click that. So you'll see that it hasn't fully tinted the bricks 100%. So this is where there's an extra tip. You should pay attention to what the base color map is. There's a lot of red here. So what I would do to kind of combat that is I would desaturate it and I would also increase the brightness, right? You could also use this guy. This is a contrast remover. So here I can either add contrast or remove contrast. And now if I remove enough contrast and desaturate, I'm getting that color. So that's how you can get pinpoint, super accurate coloring. So that's really useful in the world of architecture where you have a spec and you need to match what it'll be. So next useful tip, we've got replace and randomize. So let's say I've got a tree right here and I want it to be another asset. If you didn't know this, you can actually click this button right here and hit replace from assets. And once you do that, you can actually go and find any asset. It could be a tree or a person. And let me grab nature. I'll grab flowering tree. And if I hit this checkbox right here, it will replace that asset. So that's really useful because now I don't need to manually place it. It's actually replacing it in place. So if a client's like, oh, I don't like the look of, that tree or that car, you just replace it. Super easy. So to take that one step further, if you have a bunch of things in a line, so I'm holding down shift and dragging out, that's a little free bonus tip. And these all kind of look the same. There's no randomization. If you hold down control to do a batch selection, and then you go over here, you actually have a way to randomize the size and the rotation. That way they all look fresh and unique and not samey. Next useful tip, let's say you're working on a bunch of renderings and you want to apply all the light settings to the images. So basically, I want to switch all my images to be night, just so it's a stark contrast. If you go over to environment, and you start playing with the settings, right now it's only going to impact one view. So watch this. I'll go to custom, I'll turn off daytime, and let's just make it nighttime, and I'll increase that. So you see how this one view is dark, all these are light? Well, actually, if I go over here and click apply to all, and then I start playing with my settings, say this, increase that, and then I switch to another view, they all have the same settings. So this is really good if you're not doing like too many different time of day changes and it's just one, environment settings or effect stack across all your images. That's how you would do that. So to revert that, just switch back to save separately. So I'm just gonna hit Control Z to undo any of my settings here. Next really useful tip is, let's say you're working on a sequence of projects and they all share similar materials, or, let's say there's a material you're gonna use for the rest of your life. So I'll take this little metal here and I want to apply it to another project or future projects. Right over here is add to local. And this is how you add it to your own local asset library. If you didn't know this, under assets, you have the online D5 catalog, but you also have your own catalog. So this is where you can store models and materials. So this is that metal. So if I open up a new project, I can reuse it. I did the same thing for the bricks earlier, so I can reuse this for future projects. So this is how you build your own catalog or your asset library directly in D5. And again, it's that little plus button. Next useful setting, batch import. So let's say I've got, a really nice material I downloaded online for this asphalt. If I were to go to my material editor and I hit batch import, I can actually easily bring in all the texture maps to rebuild this material. So I downloaded this off of Ambient CG. I'm just gonna hit open, and now it's going to recreate that. And because of the base color I had applied, it basically tinted, but these are actually all the texture maps that were in that folder. So super handy if you've downloaded something and you don't want to manually click each one, you just hit batch. So then another useful tip, and if you watch my channel long enough, you know when I do my environment settings, I'm a big fan of the custom sun. A lot of people don't realize that you're not bound to the HDRI sun position. So what I mean by that is by default, it's on follow HDRI. So when I rotate the sky, my sun rotates as well. But there's situations where I really want like this specific background of the HDRI and I want my own unique time of day. That's where custom comes in, because now I'm breaking the time of day from the HDRI. So it's really the best of both worlds. You get the photorealism of the HDRI, but then you've got fine-tuned control of your sun using the custom controller. Next super useful setting is, many people don't know, but there's actually a built-in color grader in D5 Render. And if you're following along, you might not have this. And that's actually because it's a beta tool hidden under Preferences, Widgets, and is all the way down here under color grading. So if I turn that off, it goes away. If I turn it back on, it appears. So if you don't know what color grading is, this is what's used in film all the time to make things look a little bit more cinematic, and it gives you full control over the output of your image. So if I want to apply a global color, I'm going to do something extreme, like a purple or a tint, right? It's applying to the whole image. Obviously, that doesn't look good, so I'm going to reset it here. But I could go even crazier and play with the shadow color. This is going to give you even more finer control. So if it's like a warmer day, you might want to make, warmer shadows. If it's a cooler day, you can literally cool down the shadows with this. So you can do it for your shadows, your midtones, and your highlights. So you've got a lot of control here, and you can easily reset everything here. Super handy. I wish they'd just turn it on by default, because I use it all the time. So the next setting, or next tip I've got for you, deep selection. This is one I've talked about in the past, but I think it's worth bringing up again. So you see this floor material in the background. So here it's this concrete material. Typically what happens is when we're working on an exterior project and I want to edit the floor, I need to fly into the building or put a section plane in order to edit it. Because when I hit left click on my material picker, I've got the glass. If I left click again, I've got the bricks. But I want the concrete without having to go in, right? When you have your material picker open and you hold down Alt and then you left click, it will do what's called a deep selection. So this is that stucco material. So now if I were to change the base color, you see how that's changing? And I did it from outside. So I'll do that one more time. If I hit I and I click right now, it's just the normal glass. If I hold down Alt again, see the slabs being picked up? I left click and that's that stucco. So now I can change it and you guys can believe that that's happening. So this happens all the time when you've got translucent faces in front of others. It'd be really annoying having to fly back and forth, and I feel like that's such a huge time saver, so I have to bring it up again. So another question I get a lot is, what is this bar up here and how do I get it? So this is actually your statistics bar. If you go under Menu, and then you go to View, Show Statistics, I highly recommend you always have it on, because this is how I can figure out if my file's in good health, meaning I'm running at a nice frame rate, and I don't have like 20 trillion faces in my project. And the idea is, as I'm importing models in, I want to make sure I'm not importing something that's got a lot of hidden geometry that's going to bog down my file, or I import something and my frame rate takes a hit. This easily tells me that. So I always have that on. So that's how you toggle that on. I get that question all the time. And then the last tip and trick I have is motion blur. So if you don't know, in 2.10, the post AI answer, it got a motion blur tool. So if you go over here to AI post processing, or you render out an image and you click AI post processing, it's going to bring you here. If you go under effect, you're going to have post production or motion blur right here. All you have to do is select a car and apply a weight to it. And now it's going to think. And look at that. I've got motion blur applied to the image. I didn't even need to go into Photoshop. So you could either select this way, it's using the AI channel to figure out what's what, or just select via a box. So super easy, customizable, and it saves you time on post. Anyways, hope you guys enjoy those tips and tricks. If you have any ideas for future videos or even more tips and tricks, drop in the comments. I'll see you next time.